it's Natalie for A Cherry on Top Crafts today, and I am playing with the new Fancy Pants Designs Paisleys and Petals collection. It's really beautiful. It's like pink and orange and maybe some mustard yellow and then some beautiful dark greens and teals. It's very much like a fall vibe, but unique. I also have those awesome foliage shaker dies from Pinkfresh Studio. And but it's what I was saying is it gives a really autumnal vibe with the colors, and it does have leaves or petals, but it's not like the typical fall leaf, very harvest heavy collection. So if that's not your vibe, maybe try this because it's super gorgeous. So I am just going through, I'm kind of looking for a solid, and there's really only one or two papers that like reads as a solid, but that's okay. And then I want to one of the bolder printed papers I'm going to accent with. I printed these photos, my printer was running out of ink, so I thought, you know what, they kind of vibe with the papers, but once it was all said and done, I decided to reprint the pictures because the fall foliage behind their heads was so beautiful and it had the oranges in it. And so it was given the vibe that I wanted. So I'm thinking about cutting off this corner down here. So I'm trying to pick which pattern I want to go with the brighter printed photos. I think I'm going to stick with this brown one right here, which is more of a traditional autumnal scheme than maybe some of the other ones in the collection. But I cut off the little bottom corner of the dark green paper, and then I'm going to cut a little bit of a larger triangle than fits right there, just so I'll have something to attach it to the green paper with, like a little bit of an extra overhang. And so that's kind of what I'm going for there. I did want to add like some brightness to the page though, so I used my favorite EK Success dotted scalloped border punch to use some white cardstock and make this border that's gonna sit there where I cut the triangle. And then I decided to cut all the photos apart, and I pulled out some glitter cardstock from Memory Box, and I'm going to use my shaker dies. And so I'm trying to decide right now if I want to put a white background behind the leaf of the shaker, or if I just want to leave it clear. We can see it all the way through, but I kind of figure I'm going to put it there overlapping that pattern paper, and it's pretty busy, so I decide that it would do well to have the pop of white in there. So I'm going to have the base be the white, and then I cut out acetate in the same shape. And now I've gone and I've taken a sheet of fun foam and I've cut that out as well, and I did the outline of it, and that's what I'm going to be used to stick together the base and the acetate, because it's a very skinny die that you would have to have really skinny foam tape to pop it up. And so I decided that this was probably the easiest way to do that. Sometimes the fun foam can get a little misshapen, but you can just follow the lines of your acetate piece as you're laying it back down and reshape it. And this will just give me height so I can fill it with sequins and it will shake. So that's what I'm doing right there. I use the sticky side to stick to the acetate, and then I will use my Nuvo adhesive to stick the other side down to the cardstock and Nuvo adhesive. And once you let it dry, you do have to let it dry for a few minutes, but on the foam it works really well, and it fills it, makes it secure is what I'm trying to say. So I just pulled these sequins from my stash. They're from a few different collections that I had in my stash, but I picked out like pink and peach and orange, and then added in some of the browns. And so I fill up the shaker, the acetate piece topped with the foam piece that gives it the height, and now I'm going to use my Nuvo to trace around the foam piece that is not sticky, and then I'm going to use the cardstock to sandwich it together. If you did want a clear shaker, you could have just done another piece of acetate and use that as your back sandwich as well. And the foam that I used, this piece was brown. I ended up using a gray piece because I thought it was brown when I picked it out, and then it was just in the dark a little bit, and so it was gray. But what I was trying to say is that it doesn't matter because I cut out those toppers in the glitter paper as well, and I placed those on top of the acetate, and it covers it nicely. and you never know that there's foam. I mean, you probably could be able to tell a little bit if you did a really random color. It might peek out a little bit in some spaces, but if you kind of coordinate with the colors you're working with, you really can't tell. So I'm just using my Nuva adhesive again to stick the glitter down on top of the shakers, and then I'm just putting something heavy on it to let it dry. So I'm especially sticking it to the acetate. It doesn't always want to stick that well, so you definitely have to let it dry. But I stuck my border punch on it, or my acetate blocks, and after 5 minutes, we're good to go. So now I'm going to start assembling the page, and I'm going to use that little bit of an overhang that I cut on the triangle to line up that corner there and adhere it down. And then I will place my little scallop border there. Everyone always loves that. I'm going to link down below to all the products, so if you would like to use my affiliate links to buy them, but I know everyone always asks about the border punch. It's always a hit, and I really love using it, so I'll link that down below as well. I've pulled out a bunch of the ephemera bits from the Fancy Pants Paisleys and Petals collection, and I pulled out just mostly leaves and a few flowers, and I'm going to pair them in little clusters around the photos with the shaker leaves that I made with the Pinkfresh Studio die. So I'm going to start adhering everything down with my piece of cardstock here. You can kind of see it doesn't go all the way off the page there at the bottom right, but I'm just going to add a little cluster down there so you won't even be able to tell. I just took that same brown paper and I cut a tiny, really skinny strip and turned it upside down and used the opposite side, which is the mustard yellow, just to give a little pop and just add another little seam there to the distinguishing line between the two pieces of paper. I'm going to cluster the two photos on either side of the green paper here, and then I'm going to put my title in the middle. So I will adhere down one of the photos, and then I will pop up the other on some foam tape, which is from a cherry on top as well. I'll link down below to that. You can also find this layout on the blog today if you want to see all the detail shots, and there'll be links to all of those where you can go straight to the store and buy them. So I use Pinkfresh Studio Jeff Alphas to cut the word fall, and I use that same glitter paper to cut the insides of it. And then I use the Heather Eye Crafter dies to cut the smaller word vibes. So the title is going to be Fall Vibes. And I did that in white to just add a little pop. I did think about doing it in glitter, but since the page is kind of dark, like the background papers are dark, I wanted to keep a few of the bits pretty white. And then all of the ephemera have white borders, so I feel like that helps tie in and give really good cohesion to the page. So now I'm just clustering all of my elements around the photos before I stick them down to make sure that I'm happy with how everything looks. And I have 5 little shaker leaves, and they were super fun to make, and they weren't that difficult. If you have any questions, let me know down below and I'll try to answer them for you, but really not that difficult. I will say when I cut the more detailed die, the glitter one that you see on top, I did use my precision press or my precision plate in my Sizzix, which is the mirrored one, so it gives a really clean cut for really intricate dies. I don't use it like for that one that you see on the top right, which is just the background. I would never use it for that because it's not necessary, but for the more intricate dies, it's really great, and it makes sure to get all the pieces. And it was also really good for the acetate because it needs 2 passes to cut the acetate, but I'm lazy and I don't like to fussy cut. So I am just adhering everything down, and I also go back into my ephemera pack and pick a few more just little bitty flowers to sprinkle around the page, because I did think about putting some more sequins around the page, but I was like, I kind of have a lot going on. Those shakers, there's 5 of them. They're glittery. They are full of sequins. Like, calm down, lady. I just, I was not made to be subtle, so I just love some sparkle. And I super love like a really gorgeous autumn glitter color on a fall layout. I'm super into that. So this like bronzy brown glitter was so gorgeous. I do like to overlap my little eye crafter dies here to make it look almost like it's a continuous, what am I trying to say? Like a handwritten word. So now I'm just sprinkling the flowers around, and we're going to call it a layout. I'll trim off the ends off screen, and you can see all the shots at the end, and I'll link down to the blog so you can go see that on cherryontop.com as well. Like I said, I will put all of the affiliate links down below if you're interested in purchasing any of these items. And I'd love it if you like and subscribe. I am checking the sticker sheet to see if I want to add anything, but I decided again, we were good. We had a lot going on. So there you can see I trimmed off the edges, and we're done. We're going to call it a layout. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye, y'all.